Right. Hello everyone. I was kind of planning on doing a video before now, but could say I've been a bit busy. Um, I am now nearly a week post-op, which is a strange thing to hear myself say, um, and getting fed up of the bandages. Um, this video is going to be a bit of an odd one because I spent so long going for this surgery and all the rest of it that it turned into kind of a bit of a monolith in my mind, and there was nothing but the surgery. That was it. The surgery was the thing, and there was nothing really beyond the surgery. And here I am post surgery, and it's a bit of an odd feeling. I am currently sitting in the ever so fashionable chest binder. See, there we go, with the bandages, and getting fed up with them, honestly. Um, I was going to do a write-up of the surgery, but honestly, I tried, and I couldn't. I kept on deleting, rewriting, so I figured a video might possibly be better. As for the binder and the bandages that I've got on, those won't be coming off until Thursday, so I haven't actually seen what my chest looks like properly yet, but I've seen the shape of it, and felt the bruising. But I've seen the shape of how it's built at the moment and how it's going and all the rest of it, but I haven't actually seen what it looks like underneath those bandages. It's actually quite hard for me not to just take the bandages off and have a look, but to be fair, remembering the pain of what the bandages feel like coming off has kind of stopped me doing that. So anyway, the surgery was last week, Wednesday the 30th in fact, and it was actually quite scary how fast it all happened. I had to have nil by mouth from midnight Tuesday, so I actually stopped eating and drinking about 11 o'clock just to make sure, because I'm paranoid, and that's how I work. I actually managed to sleep. I was very surprised about that. Not well. I had about 3 hours sleep, but I slept. That's the important thing here. I didn't want to wake up, but there we go. I got to the hospital with my stepmom and my fiance, Mary Jo, about 7 o'clock ish, because we're all paranoid about arriving late, so we figured early's better than late, but they wanted me in for 7:15, so I had a little bit of a wait. Honestly, the longest part of all of it was being shown from the reception to my room. Nuffield Hospital, absolutely fantastic. It's I described it as a hotel that has nurses for waiting staff rather than an actual hospital, and that's what it feels like. Everybody is so nice to you, so polite, so welcoming, so warm. I didn't have a problem with one person in there. I had a lovely nurse called Peter look after me first. Honestly, I cannot remember all my nurses' names because for quite a bit of it, I have no memory at all, which is fair enough. And that was the longest part. I was sat in the room for 5 minutes before the nurses started happening to me. First, I had my first observation done, which was blood pressure, heartbeat, making sure everything was okay. They noted my blood pressure was a little high, and kind of figured that was acceptable considering the fact this was my surgery. I was a little stressed, a little bit. My stepmom and my fiance then teased the hell out of me by having the nicest hot chocolate ever, apparently, right in front of me, and I just sort of glared at them. After that, the next person I saw was Yelland himself, who came in. Well, no, sorry, it wasn't Yelland. It was a nurse who told me that I needed to go and shower with this antibacterial sponge, which wasn't the nicest feeling thing in the world, but it had to be done. That's the last shower I've had, by the way, and I feel gross. However, I can't get all of this wet. So, then it was Mr. Yelland who came in with his magical Sharpie and drew all over my chest. Weirdly enough, didn't feel strange at all, despite sitting there topless in front of my stepmom, fiance, and Mr. Yelland, having him draw on my top. Because as I pointed out to my stepmom, whatever you see now isn't going to be there in a couple of hours. It turned out that I was also the first on the list, so that meant I was first surgery that day. Which I'm not sure made me panic less or more, because all of a sudden it was there, it was happening, and it was real. So next thing I know is I'm been told that I need to get into the bed with my weird hospital gown thing on, which doesn't feel nice, I'll admit. And I was being wheeled down to the theatre, and I was lying in the bed waiting for them to set up the cannula and put everything in, and I could actually see through into the theatre room. I could see the lights, and I could see where, you know, everything was and where they were prepping up and all the rest of it, and hear the nurses who were going to be taking part, the anaesthetists and all the rest of it, who were going to be taking part in the surgery, and hear them talking and saying that they're just waiting for the big man, Mr. Yelland. And yeah, I think about then everything peaked, because I suddenly realised this is it. Unless I actually jump out the bed and run, I'm going under. I'm going into surgery. And I didn't jump out the bed and run. I was quite pleased with myself with that. Yeah, I was shaking a lot. They knew how nervous I was, thankfully, because I'd spoken to the anaesthetist, and the anaesthetist had talked it over what was happening with me, and you could hear my voice shaking a little bit. I will be honest, I was nervous as hell. It's not unusual, it's kind of a big thing. It's surgery. It does... Anyone who tells you that it's just cosmetic and doesn't matter, they're lying. It's still a major surgery, therefore I was still scared. This was me going under for the first time. I'd never done this before. But they actually asked me, because I told them I wanted the cannula in this hand. Here you can see the bruise. The cannula in this hand, because I'm an artist and I draw with this hand, and I was drawing doing a drawing for a friend, and to distract me from the cannula and from the flushing and all the rest of it. They actually asked me what I was drawing, and I remember babbling that I was drawing a Lord of the Rings Silmarillion character. I don't remember what I was babbling about, but that's what I was babbling about. They flushed it through, because obviously they needed the blood and all the rest of it out of the way, and then they told me that they're putting in the putting in the anaesthetic, and it was going to feel cold, and they were putting it in as they told me, and before they could warn me that I was going to get a bad taste in my mouth, I suddenly had a bad, really, really nasty bad taste in my mouth. I cannot describe to you how bad it is, because it's horrible. And as I was telling them that my mouth tasted bad, I suddenly went. That was it. Suddenly I was waking up again in recovery. That's how fast it acted. From the moment of them telling me it was going into my hands, to me complaining that I suddenly had a bad taste in my mouth, that's how fast it worked. It was... I woke up, and the first thing I thought was, why is my vision double? Second thing was, is it done yet? And the third was, oh my god, my mouth tastes like something's died in it. Because that's how bad it is. It's a horrible, horrible taste. It goes immediately as soon as you've had a mouthful of water, but until you've had that mouthful of water, your mouth is just, yeah, it's horrible. I remember hearing some nurses saying that it was one of the smoothest operations ever, and there were no complications, and it was just straight away. And I remember complaining to a nurse that my mouth tastes really horrible, and I'd like to change that. I don't remember anything past that. The next thing I know, I was being wheeled back up into my room. And I think I had my little brother there, and my stepmom and my fiance, but I couldn't tell you for sure. The rest of the day until I woke up in the evening is kind of little snapshots of when I was awake and when I was asleep. There was no sort of in between. I was either vaguely computing the world or not there at all. And it took me, even when I woke up in the evening, I was still very, very woozy. Not woozy enough that I didn't demand my sandwich, because they have the menu options there is they have something light for when you come out of surgery and you're able to eat. And then you have a main meal at the evening, and then obviously breakfast the next morning. And I was starving by this point. I hadn't eaten anything for a good 16 hours. I was starving and desperately wanted a drink of water. Honestly, actually, the worst part of the entire stay was the night, and that's only because I don't like spending nights in hospitals. I've spent nights in plenty of hospitals, and I don't like it very much. I will say this, however, I don't want to stay in an NH hospital ever again. It was lovely staying in Nuffield. From 10 o'clock, the noises stopped, so you could just sleep. I didn't, because I didn't particularly want to, but that was hospitals. I don't like hospitals, that's just me. As for the pain and everything at that level, even then, the nurses were very surprised when they asked me sort of like what my pain was, and they give you a pain scale of 1 to 10. Mine never went above 5. They did give me pain relief if it did hit 5, but it never went above it, except for right after the surgery when it was about 6-7, because obviously I'd just come out of surgery at that point. You've noticed I'm gesturing a lot, and I'm not moving my arms above here, but I am moving my arms. You'd be surprised how much movement you actually have after surgery. I don't have drains, which helps, and I have a very, very high pain threshold, and that's kind of helped. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, otherwise this video will get a little too long. That's the surgery. That is the surgery day, sort of in perspective for you guys. That's what I went through for my surgery day. I will put up another video when I'm not so tired, when I'm not so wanting to go and lie down, because I'll be honest, I'm knackered. And this binder does not let me breathe properly. I thought my old compression vests were bad. This is horrible. I can't wait to take it off. So, until the next video, guys, I am out of surgery, and I am doing damn well, and I can't wait to have it taken off on Thursday. I will probably do one after then, so take care, keep safe, until next time.